the aspect of the job where you feel like you know everything as it comes in. You've pulled every book or you've checked in every order or whatever. And that is a nice thing about a smaller store, is having that sort of omniscience almost about everything that's going on inside your store.
Omnipresence.
You're always there.
In the Midwest, you know the best is there waiting, so come and join the conversation. I still approved, fan and artist and creator too. This is how the challengers do. What? Keep the conversation moving along. Keep bringing comics, keep your local store strong. If it's hard, then it's a job for the challengers. Comics and conversation, y'all.
From Challengers Comics and Conversation in Chicago, this is Contest of Challengers, a comics industry business podcast with Patrick Brower and
William Willie Dallantino Bush.
Since we built this podcastatorium here on the South Side,
Yes.
I have seen in the last 5 months more cars completely engulfed in flame on the highway than ever before in my life.
Well, you are on the highway a lot more than you used to be.
Yeah. That's
So
true.
I think it has less to do with the South Side and more to do with being on the Kennedy or the Edens or
the Dan Ryan.
the Dan Ryan.
A car fully engulfed in flame, literally right by the exit where I would get off to come to the podcastatorium, which remarkably did not affect my travel time at all. However, because it was in the express lane and I was in the local lanes.
Yes.
However, it was
when you saw the other car that was engulfed in flames, was it on the same side that you were on? I think it was. It was on the shoulder.
It was to the left.
In the same direction.
Yeah.
So, like, you just had to get over a lane. But even that, it wasn't a huge inconvenience. It was more just like everyone slowed down a little bit and went, oh, God, it's very hot by this flaming car.
And because we went past it, we felt the heat.
Oh, yeah.
This one, I did not feel any heat. But I saw the smoke from maybe like a mile or so away, and I thought, that can't be a good sign. But, you know, the way the highway weaves, it's like, is that a building? Is it off to the side? No.
Nope.
Right in the middle of the highway.
An external combustion car.
Just, you know, part of the adventures of getting to the podcastatorium.
Yeah, that's cool. You got a little fun story to tell.
Sure.
You're usually coming in hot, so why not a flaming car story?
Yes, I mean, not as hot as that car. My goodness. That is what I would call hot. I've got multiple notes.
Notes, cool.
Yeah,
Let's
one
do
is,
it.
well, because I left my notebook in the podcastatorium
Oh,
for the last couple days.
got
So
it.
I had external notes, not a lot. I also have a list of things we need to get for the party next week for the Challengers 15th anniversary
Cool.
party. That is Friday, March 31st at 7 p.m.
I feel like we'll probably go Wednesday night then, maybe.
I'll see if I can't do this ahead of time.
Oh, okay. That's
yeah.
cool.
The only thing I don't know that I'll get is the ice, because the ice has to be
That's why I
immediately
thought
brought
we would
back.
do it Wednesday night, because then we
Yeah.
just bring it back to the store and then leave.
Maybe not. Wednesday may be a different day for me.
Okay.
Sarah Milliken is still a 10% chance.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. You know
Yeah,
what?
I mean, I was going to mention that because I didn't think you had anything else in your schedule. But if you do, then obviously shopping for a party can happen nearly any day.
Nearly any day. What are the notes from today that I wanted to talk about? I'm sure you noticed during the day that Shopify had one of those other sales lags.
No, I just thought you did no business.
Wow, nice.
I mean, it's a Friday. Sometimes they start slow. I'm like, I guess they had one shopper the last 2 hours. I
Yeah,
don't
but
know.
didn't you see that
sucks.
there was just one bar? And oh, yeah, I see. You assumed there was no business.
Yeah, it
okay.
said one order, and I'm like, okay, that sucks.
It caught up by
Yeah.
the end of the day, and I did check to make sure that the last couple transactions are listed in the order page.
Okay.
But for more than half the day, it was just like, oh, only the sales in the first hour count.
Weird.
And I don't know why that happens.
I just assume there's something with their database that's not catching up. One quick thing on Shopify, I don't know if you noticed it, but I did and refunded the person. Somebody had asked to get an invoice to get their 2 copies of Saga shipped out,
Yeah,
but whoever did the invoice,
me.
you added a line item for shipping.
Yeah.
Shipping is just paid for the when the customer checks out, they choose local pickup, which is free, economy shipping, which is $6, or priority mail shipping, which is $9.50. You don't have to put a line item for it. They just pick it when they're checking out.
I didn't realize that was the same for subscriptions. I thought that was just people who were buying things off the website.
It's anything.
Oh.
Yeah.
So did they...
So they pick $6 shipping, and then they'd also paid $6 for shipping in the invoice. So when I saw that, because I'm like, I was looking at the order, I'm like, this seems like a really high total for economy shipping and 2 comic books. It's because they paid for shipping twice. So I refunded them the line item.
I literally never knew that was the way we did it. Huh. Well, because previously we would add shipping to...
We would have to add shipping because when people pick curbside pickup, you can't then, because that was a free shipping option.
Yeah.
Even though it wasn't shipping, it was for local pickup. Do you see what I'm saying?
I do, but I...
So now without that being an issue, with the only options you can choose now being a thing that specifically says local pickup and it's free,
Okay.
or shipping options, which are either economy for $6 or priority mail for $9.50, you don't have to... not only do you not have to, on the section that says shipping, click add shipping and then put in a price or pick a thing. You don't have to do anything in the body of the order.
I'm giving you this face because it's making me wonder how many people I've done that to.
I don't remember seeing it before.
Because that is the way I would always...
That's the way you always do it during... When curbside pickup was a problem. And you needed to go in and say, okay...
Yeah, but I didn't know that was the distinction.
Oh, okay.
I was still adding shipping to people that were getting invoices.
If anyone got invoiced and you feel like you got overcharged for shipping, double check.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody did, though. I mean, it's, again, I noticed it immediately and changed it.
Okay.
I don't think it's a problem.
Well, I also added bags and boards and didn't ask them.
Yeah, I wouldn't. If someone ever wants their subscription shipped out, you're getting bags and boards.
Yeah.
That's getting added on. That always gets added on.
We also had another person who had the items double.
Explain that to me again, because I don't know that I understood it last week.
Okay, so you go to the order helper tile.
Right.
And you click send it to cart.
Right.
And then when you go to the cart, the quantities are all 2.
Yeah, I've never seen that happen before.
Okay, second time it's happened to me.
It's so weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely worth passing along to...
But it's not repeatable.
Yeah, but if you can mention what order it happened on, like if you remember the customer...
Yeah, I don't know that I do.
Okay. Next time it happens, just note what customer it is, because then we can go in afterwards, find out what the order number was, and then say to Brian, like, hey, this, like... One of the cool things that they have on their end, I think, is logs where it'll explain exactly what Managed Comics is doing when it's moving things from different places. So if you can say, this order is when it happened.
But this time,
yes,
it wasn't every book. The previous time, it was every book. This time, it was only half.
That is especially weird. Yeah, if you do see it happen again, just make a note of what customer it was, and I can go in afterwards and do all the data.
Shopify changes. Shopify register changes.
Yeah, one of the things that I noticed on Wednesday that I really love, and you probably noticed it too, I hope, when
It's
you're
probably what you're going to say.
When you're adding discount, the default is percentage
as
instead
opposed
of amount.
to, yeah.
Because that was literally a thing where every time we'd have to make an alteration to someone's subscription books to add a 10% discount, it would be an extra button press because you have to go into discount, but then you'd have to go, no, not this tab, the other tab, and then type in the amount. Now it's like percentage, and it has literally tripped me up half the time.
Same.
Because I'm so used to like, nope, not this tab. Oh, wait, no,
Yeah.
yes, this tab.
And you notice it's on the screen differently?
Yeah. There's a lot more detail on the POS screen when discounts have been added, like by Managed Comics or something else. So it's
personal discount parentheses.
Yes, which is what it would always say when you were sending out invoice.
Yeah.
It just wouldn't necessarily say it on the screen, but now it does, which is pretty cool.
So there's something
it's
else.
It's a positive change.
Yeah, I know, right? I also noticed a weird, not an error, but a thing that happened where somebody had asked for an item to be added to their list like the day before we received it.
Okay.
And I'm deliberately not saying who or what it was.
Okay.
But when it came up and it took off the discount was way too high.
So what it probably was is, and this is a problem we've had before, when you are, I assume it was a non-comic item?
Correct.
Okay, so the problem is...
Look at you, you're so smart.
Yeah, because I've seen this happen before. Let's say you pre-order a pop vinyl. The SRP for a pop vinyl that Managed Comics has it as is not necessarily what we would receive it as. We would receive it at a higher price.
Yes.
The problem is when you receive a pre-order item through Managed Comics and you change it at check-in, it's adding it to a customer order at the same price that they reserved it at, not the price that you're receiving it at through check-in.
Okay.
So you almost always need to go in to the customer account and change it manually on their customer order, kind of at the same time or slightly before you're actually receiving it through check-in. Like, we've had that happen before with when we've allowed subscribers by request to add an incentive cover.
Yeah.
The incentive cover price is always going to be whatever the actual cover price of the comic is, but that's not what we would sell it at. So, like, if we were selling a 1 in 25 variant for $14.99, when you add it to someone's account, it's going to add at $3.99 or $4.99, whatever the cover price is, and then when you receive it and you say, okay, it's $14.99, it's going to give a discount that basically takes it down to 10% less than $3.99 or $4.99 or whatever it had originally been given.
Okay.
So the discount is suddenly going to be like $11 off, and it's like, wait, what? No. That's why it's doing it. So it has to do with the price that you have it on someone's customer order or pre-order section as, not what you're receiving it at.
Okay. Well, I caught it, and I went in and I just changed price to
that's all
what
you
it
do.
would have been with the proper discount.
You just kind of do a manual override, and you just say, here's the new discount, and there you go. But
But first you have to clear out the discount before
do.
it lets you change the price.
But that's why it's doing it. And that's a thing that is worth keeping an eye on when you're receiving stuff that is not regular cover price or standard markup sort of things.
Okay. I mean, I'm the one who received this item, but I'm
Right.
not the one who added it to the person's
Correct.
account, so I didn't know that it was there.
Yeah.
That is the thing that is getting me into trouble more and more lately, is not being the person to receive specific things or specific categories, Marvel, DC versus independent and everything else. And it's just the nature of the way work is doled out, but it's something that is making me less good at my job.
Well, yeah, I see what you're saying, and it's definitely a concern I have sometimes, where you feel less like you know every aspect of the job because you're not doing every aspect of the job anymore. But on the other hand, like, when your store has grown to a certain size, you can't do every
Right.
job.
No, I know.
Like,
I get it. I'm not lamenting the fact that I don't do everything.
Sure.
I'm just saying there is
a
a
downside to it.
not a symptom, a
Consequence?
a consequence. Thanks. I was going to say byproduct.
I saw John Wick 4. Consequences.
Is that what it's called?
No. It's just a thing they say a lot in that franchise.
Such is life.
The aspect of the job where you feel like you know everything as it comes in, you've pulled every book or you've checked in every order or whatever. And that is a nice thing about a smaller store, is having that sort of like omniscience almost about everything that's going on inside your store.
Omnipresence.
Sure. You're always there
Yeah.
because you're the only one working there. And that means that if you want a day off, the store has to be closed. And also, if you ever get sick, you're kind of doomed. Like, those are the consequences in the other direction of being the only one there. It is a thing I do miss, though. I mean, I do.
Getting sick and having days off?
Yeah. There is something to be said for being, a sole proprietor sort of situation. You run a store and you're there and it's just you and it's quiet.
Yes, I remember 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Ironically, it's supposed
Hard
to
to
be
make a living doing it, but it's
Oh,
nice.
for sure. That's why you had a second job.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
That's why I was there all the time.
Yep.
And still had to drive far. What's going on?
Yeah.
Where are we now? I don't know what's happening. It's all changed around.
Time's a flat circle.
We made all the new or modified release signs today
Oh, yes. Yeah.
with the new hooks on the back.
You like them?
I like them a lot,
But
there is an unexpected circumstance that has a very, very easy solution.
okay.
The dump shelves
Uh-huh.
are made the opposite way.
Yep.
So when you go to clip the signs on,
You got to clip in the other direction.
they hang the opposite way.
So you got to flip them.
Wait, you got to pull the sign out,
Right.
turn it upside down.
Yeah. No, I got it. That is the way to do it. I mean, it's just you just take the piece of paper out and you flip
It's
the
very
side.
simple. But it's like, you knew where that was going,
Oh yeah.
so why didn't you tell me that ahead of time?
I don't know how much you ever used the signs before. When we had the big flat ones, that was what you would have to do for any of the bottom
Yeah,
shelves.
yeah.
You'd always have to flip it because otherwise the angle it would be at would be unreadable. So that was the thing that Yeah, I mean, that's just second nature. I guess I didn't mention it, one, because I didn't know you were working on that. 2, because we haven't used the old signs in a while. 3, because it's so second nature that I don't really think about it. And 4, you're a smart guy and you'd figure it out.
I figured it out.
Yeah.
Figured it right away. So we'll need to. I mean, they go on fine. They just don't go on as easy as the current ones.
You really got to shove them on,
Well, no, you don't shove them. You nuance them.
yeah. You got to romance them a little
Do
bit.
not break them. We used up, because we got 50 of the backings.
Okay.
We used them all up, and that was all the alphabets and all the new number ones and the new printings.
Okay.
We're still using the old clips for the employee recommendations.
Okay.
But I kind of like that because those stand out.
Okay.
Those are different.
Sure.
I'll probably order more of them just so we have more.
Yeah.
And so what we did is
When
we
they
didn't
break.
we didn't repurpose the old signs because we had so many brand new of those
Sure.
card holders
Yeah.
in the back, and it looks better with the new ones. Nobody sees them from the back. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's
but
mostly
because
just for our use.
the foam tape we used was so much across the back for the old alligator clips
Yeah.
that. Not alligator clips, but let's say crocodile, because alligator clips are a very specific piece of stationery.
Sure.
So the crocodile teeth ones, they're so much longer than the new ones.
Yes.
So here's my question.
Okay.
Since we're basically on our third iteration, can I throw away the entire box of first iteration?
Sure.
It's so full
Yeah.
with stuff that we just
We'll never use.
I may dig through and take out the
If you want to keep 3 or 4 or maybe 5 of the really, really good, pristine ones,
So
just
none
in
of them.
case. Yeah, I mean, anything that's cloudy
Yeah.
or beat up or bare on the back, just throw them away.
I may pull out the free comic day signs or whatever because we made those are generic.
But we can make new ones of those.
Yeah, but we'd have to literally make new everything because they're different sizes, they're different.
Okay.
We'll see. I'll go through it. Maybe not tomorrow, but I'll go through it.
Yeah.
But yeah, just because I saved a box of all the more recent ones.
Sure.
Since we took 50 of those
Right.
newer ones off. I don't just want to throw them away.
Sure.
But I want to throw those away.
Yeah, I think it's okay to not have to keep every generation of them.
Yeah.
This is it's new sign week at Challengers this week.
Yeah, it definitely
we
is.
had those signs for the comic section, and then we did a lot of new signs for the graphic novel section because we made a lot of changes to the graphic novel section.
You were
this week.
supposed to pause so I could say, why did we make new signs for the graphic
'Cause
novel
we
sections?
did a lot of changes to the graphic novel section this week. We expanded and contracted different sections. We contracted the superhero section by a few bookshelves, and we expanded the manga section by a couple bookshelves, and in doing so, we moved around where the sci-fi fantasy graphic novels were, and the young adult stuff, and the humor books, and some of the discount books, and then we added a ton of new
discount books.
discount graphic novels, including basically for the first time in years, superhero graphic novels. We discounted a lot of those. That's the stuff that usually doesn't get remaindered by us because we always had space for it, and eventually that stuff would go, but now we wanted to use the space differently and got kind of sick at looking at some of the books that have been sitting on the shelves for years and years.
I'll say two things.
Mm-hmm.
One, I think it looks great the way they look on top of the back issues.
Yeah, I think it worked out.
I really like the way they look.
Yeah.
And I like all the merchandise stuff in the spotlight section.
Yeah.
Sorry to lose the spotlight section for now, but
Yeah,
it's
hopefully we'll have
necessary.
another idea down the line. Did you add anything else to that merchandise section? Because I left some stuff empty and I kind of threw it to Molly, and I don't think she had any idea for it.
I looked at it and I'm like, I can take this Wolverine and put it down there, but I didn't.
Sure.
Things like that. But
Yeah.
it's easy to add to it. It's fine.
Yeah, it was a thing that I couldn't at the time. There was so much going on. I'm like, there's extra space. I would have to pull other stuff apart to make this happen. I don't really care right this second.
Yeah. We could almost try to merge the...
Section in the back?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's stuff you could put over there, but it's like, I didn't do it on Wednesday because I'm like, but that section's fine.
Yeah.
It's not too full.
No.
Stuff sells from back there.
The other thing I was going to say was there's literally stuff that we're selling for 25% off. I'm like, we're selling that for 25% off?
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, I didn't look at sales records. I don't know what hasn't moved in forever. And,
Yeah.
and your point to we're getting rid of the hardcover because the softcover is available.
Right, it's stuff we wouldn't restock. And the kind of key thing is, we were okay selling a lot of this stuff for 25% off a month ago.
Yeah. For real.
And some of it has had multiple
Sure.
25% off store-wide sales to sell, and it hasn't. So, yeah, I'm fine marking it down full-time. Looking at the data on the admin side of the website, it looks like Molly got through like the letter N or something, working backwards from the alphabet. We got through. We were in the S's on Wednesday, so I guess she and Stella did another few letters.
Okay.
So we're slowly getting that stuff up on the website, getting it discounted. I don't know if you remember this, but anything with a red dot on the price tag on the back has had its price changed in the system. So when you scan it, you don't have to do anything.
I didn't remember that because I literally was not told that.
Okay, I think we talked about that before when we were talking about how best to get because not everything's going to go in the system at once,
Right.
and we do want to put it out and sell it.
Here's what I told Gina today.
Okay.
Scan it,
Uh-huh.
and then look at what it comes up as. If it's
fine.
not
I mean,
discounted, discount it.
That's fine. But yeah, anything with a red dot on the quarter off price tag on the back has been
It's weird.
put in
I
the system.
randomly looked at some, and none of them had red dots.
Well, because all we got up to, we started at the back of the alphabet on the shelves.
First thing I looked at was Zenith.
I don't know that we did Zenith. I think she started handing me the stuff next to Zenith. So yeah, I guess we need to do Zenith then. But yeah, a lot of the like all the Superman stuff and all the Spider-Man stuff is all done.
I looked at those Zeniths, and I'm like, man, you used to have a full set. I used to have a full set, and that's good stuff. But I'm like, man, why don't I don't know if I'll reread this. That's all.
That's the thing is like, if I owned it again, it would just be to have it on a bookshelf. I'm not crazy about reading Zenith. I don't like Steve Yoel that well. The one thing that I ended up buying as a result of reorganizing everything, because as always, you move stuff and you see things in new places and you're like, oh, I guess I want that. Which is why we do it for customers. Was the Firepower Volume 1 hardcover by Kirkman and Samney. I didn't stick with Firepower very long, and I don't think I think I maybe finished everything that's in that hardcover. But Chris Samney's art is so good.
Yeah.
And I love a lot of the fight scenes and stuff in Firepower, so I'm like, nobody else wanted this, and we've had it for a while, and we wouldn't restock it at this point, because Firepower doesn't sell that great for us. So I'm like,
Firepower is a book that
I'll buy this.
We've got a good number of club members who buy it, and then one for the shelf.
Yeah, there's a bunch of Image stuff like that. I remember the first time Monstrous came back when Molly Jane was doing FOCs, she was very like confused and upset in that Molly Jane way that we weren't getting Monstrous to the shelf, and I'm like, it doesn't sell off the shelf. And now she's the one doing FOCs, and she's the one who has to make sure that like we don't order any Monsters for the shelf because it does not sell off the shelf. And she got mad at me this week when we were checking in the Marvel stuff because she's like, I can't believe you didn't order any variant covers for Doctor Strange. I'm sorry, I thought I ordered the Alex Ross Dormammu variant. Okay, but you didn't order any other variants. Nobody else ordered any, Molly.
Yeah.
Like,
that is a strong indicator to us of what interest is.
Yeah.
If no one signed, because we've got
and
dedicated subscribers who order many, many variant covers.
Yeah.
And if our people do not order any variant covers for a title, then we know there's virtually no interest.
Yeah.
And we're not going to buy something hoping somebody wants it.
Well, because we've done that before, specifically with Doctor Strange. There's a Mark Chiarello Clea variant for an issue of Strange, and I'm like, God damn, this thing is gorgeous. Nobody asked for it, but I think we could sell 2 or 3. I don't think we sold 1. So it's like, okay, cool. I can't order variants just because I think they look good. Yeah, I'm okay just getting the Dormammu one. It's fine.
I'm okay just getting A covers. Always have been. That's how I buy my books.
It is. It's true.
Yeah.
And you're like the perfect audience for those Alex Ross hero and villain variants.
You know,
because his nostalgia is your nostalgia.
I saw an Alex Ross Avengers piece right before I left the store today.
Oh, yeah?
And it's a full, like, the history of the Avengers, not a history, but like every Avenger in a jam piece that he painted.
This is new?
I think it's brand new, yeah.
Oh, wow. I wonder if it's going to be at C2 too, probably.
And, because it was Sal who posted it.
Okay.
And I looked at it, and I'm like, you know what? This is technically excellent. But I didn't like it. And here's why. And I even said, I'm like, don't even talk about this on the podcast. It's not, because it's not like I'm bad-mouthing Alex Ross.
And
it's
plus, I think he can take it at this point.
Every figure is painted the exact same way.
Okay.
So it looks just like a jumble, and your eye doesn't know where to go.
Sure.
Photon her classic suit is right up front.
Captain Marvel.
That's where your eyes go.
Huh.
Because her suit is all white
Oh, yeah.
with a black star.
I can see that.
So she's the only, like, she almost looks like negative space because everybody else, because the figures in the foreground aren't painted heavier or darker than the figures in the background.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they were done individually and put together. It's very well done, technically amazing.
I wonder if they were done individually and put together, because that was how...
I don't think so, because
that's how he
they're
did
all in very specific poses. Like, they're not standing just like the Heroes and Villains
Okay, because
covers.
the Heroes and Villains covers, he did those separately and
Yeah,
then
for
composited
a
them
mural
individually.
he did for
Yeah.
Marvel, and then they decided, let's make a thing out of it. But
Yeah.
this is a big jam piece with everybody front and back, and the only people I couldn't find
Uh-huh.
were Reed, Sue, and Ben. Johnny's there, though. Also, I don't remember the...
Maybe it's Jim Hammond.
Maybe. Was he ever an official
West Coast
Avenger?
Avengers, right?
Was the Shroud officially a West Coast Avenger member?
I thought so.
Because the Shroud is in this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The
Okay.
Englehart area? Yeah, I think so.
But I started looking. I'm like, I'm going to find... can you tell me which
Did you find
iteration?
Gilgamesh?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, with the big headdress, the bull headdress and
So
everything.
he remembered
yeah.
to put him in?
Yeah, that's good. Gilgamesh was indeed not forgotten.
Okay, good.
I'm sure you can guess which iteration of Wonder Man it was.
Green costume?
No,
Red Safari jacket?
Safari Jacket.
Yeah. That's a good choice. I thought he would go earlier than that.
Not well, because he wasn't a team member in that suit. He was a villain then.
That's true. No, there's a version of the green suit is when he joins West Coast Avengers. The green suit, like the full jumpsuit with like the little waist rockets,
Yeah.
and then very quickly he gets the red safari jacket, which is his second most iconic costume, probably after the
Jeff Johnson
the
W.
Jeff Johnson
Sleeveless.
black tank top with
Yeah.
the red W on it.
Yeah, I like Jeff Johnson art. That guy's good.
Yeah.
What do you think about making more manga with an arrow signs to go on the
The last bookshelf?
Yeah.
The fourth bookshelf? Fourth of six?
the two middle bookshelves that are facing each other, above where we put the flyers for the store?
Oh, I see what you're
Just saying like, hey,
yeah.
there's a gap, go that way.
That's a good idea.
Just because I can see people not
Probably.
realizing that there's
It's
that it
happened before.
continues. Because well, the superhero was split, but that seemed more obvious, I guess. I don't know why.
No, it's a good idea.
Thanks. People who follow our social media accounts may have noticed last Saturday there was an occurrence where there were two white CTA SUVs parked on the sidewalk directly in front of the store, specifically directly in front of our front door. The door could open a little bit. And what had happened...
You weren't trapped.
Yeah. It was pointed out by a disabled person that there's no way a wheelchair could have fit into the store at that point, or indeed out
yeah.
of the store.
I mean, if the store can't even open 90 degrees, then yeah, anyone in a wheelchair is going to have a tough time getting out.
Yeah. So what had happened was, as people who shop here on weekends may know by now, through an undetermined point in May, Saturdays and Sundays, they're doing construction on the Blue Line between Western and Addison. So the train doesn't run between those those stops.
Yeah, there's 3 stops that are basically shut down station-wise.
So they have all these buses that are shuttling people to those other stations.
From Western to Addison and from Addison to Western, and then stopping at the individual stops with buses to let people out, so that if you needed to be at a place
You need
in
to
that
go to
neighborhood,
Logan or whatever.
like that's how you
Yeah.
get there.
It's a bus trip now. And all the buses that they're doing it are the double long buses.
Mm-hmm.
And what they're doing is there's no parking in front of the store on Saturdays and Sundays between, I don't know, 8 and 5 or whatever.
It's like from overnight Friday to like the morning of Monday, basically.
So no one can park in front of the store, and it's a line of buses, and it's not just us. I mean, it's not just our section that includes the ATM store and Black River Barbershop and us.
It's basically,
but it's also down.
It's from the CTA at Milwaukee down to the 606, basically.
Yeah. So it's a line of buses, and as one gets full, then everybody moves up by a bus length or a double bus length. Well, it was cold and wet last week, and there was a double long. I can't want to say double wide, but that's not the right word.
No, double long.
A double long bus in front of the store, and at that point, the gutter of the street was full of water. Well, it froze while the bus was there, so it froze around the bus's tires. So the bus was stuck. So these CTA SUVs were full of bags of salt, and the employees or the drivers of these SUVs were scattering salt all around the tire to free the bus so
to
it
melt
could move.
the ice enough so the bus could move, yeah.
No one told me this. No one explained this. Nobody said, hey, we're doing this. They just pulled up and started doing it.
Right.
It's me looking out and seeing what's happening that notice what's going on. But the point is, there is a tremendous amount of available sidewalk space that is not our front door.
Yeah, for the building that we're in, the only two doors that really are necessary are Black River and us. There's one door for each business. A lot of real estate that you could park in front of that would not be in front of a door.
So there's a SUV there, and I go out. I'm like, hey, could you pull up 3 extra feet? You're not blocking my door. And the CTA employee says, thank you, have a nice day. I'm like, hey man, you're blocking the door to my business. Can you at least, you want to be on the sidewalk? I don't care. Can you at least move 3 more feet? Thank you. So I went back into the store, but I don't know, it was like really windy or something. So our door kept slipping out of my hands and repeatedly smashing into the car that was directly in front of the door.
Boy, that's a shame.
Yeah, I don't think they care because
Chicago
it's
weather,
not their car. No. So I immediately complained about it, and people were like, tag the alderman. I'm like, I can't tag the alderman. Our alderman is not on Instagram. Because I went looking.
Probably smart for them.
Yeah.
If you're a politician, don't be on Instagram.
And the whole thing was less than a half an hour. They weren't there all that long.
Right.
But it's so rude and dismissive.
Inconsiderate to happen at all, but then to have a human being basically not even engage with you about it is insulting.
It would have taken him 30 seconds to move his car 3 feet.
Yeah. Or just to say, here's what's going on.
Yeah.
Like, to basically pretend that they were not a human being that could respond to you is like, come on, man.
Do you know how close I was to popping the tires?
Very close.
Very close.
Very close.
You know what stopped me? I don't know that I have a knife that would puncture their tires.
And then that car's definitely not moving.
At least it's got a reason to be there.
Sure.
I don't think a box cutter will go through. And our plastic airport knives, definitely not going to go through the rubber of a tire. But I definitely thought about it.
Definitely. You were angry, and rightly so.
Yeah, I was absolutely annoyed by the entire situation.
Hey there, this is comic book writer Marcus on Nassau. Patrick asked me to make a promo for my current Kickstarter. It's for a hardcover edition of my epic sci-fi fantasy series, By the Horns. You may have heard me talk about the series on this very podcast. If you haven't heard about the book, it's an adventure about a heartbroken warrior and her telepathic wolf friend who want to murder all the unicorns in the world for destroying their lives. The main character, Elodie, can rip off unicorn horns and merge them together to form mystic weapons. By the Horns features amazing, detailed artwork by my friend and co-creator, Jason Muir. Our Kickstarter is in the final week. We're fully funded and we've unlocked 3 stretch goals. I'd love it if you went to Kickstarter and checked it out and considered backing us. We've got badass metal bottle openers, hand-carved drinking horns made from real water buffalo horns, prints, and of course the hardcover, which collects 8 issues and extras for just $40. Go to Kickstarter, search for By the Horns, and keep reading comics.
Man, I'm burning through notes. Did you see the Marvel solicits yet?
I did, yeah, I read them today.
Ah, see, I thought that maybe you didn't, so I brought home a copy of previews, and I was going to try to gauge your
I appreciate that.
reaction
I
live as
Pierre-
we record.
PRH had sent
But
an
I
email saying the catalogs are up, so I looked at the Marvel one and I made some notes about stuff that will be in the next week's subscriber email.
I didn't even look at it yet because I was busy today, Dal. I was working.
I wasn't.
Yeah, you were. You were just, that counts as work.
That's true.
You
I
were
mean, I was
working.
doing some other stuff. That's
You're
true.
always working. I am also mostly working. One of my notes, it says Shopify importing. And I feel like that's a handoff to you. But I'm trying to remember what there was a problem with importing stuff this
Kind
week.
of. We use a very expensive app called Smart Filter and Search. That's what allows us on individual pages to have people be able to refine their searches by the publisher, the artist, the writer, by price points, by in stock or out of stock, by incentive covers or not incentive covers. All that stuff is enabled by an app called Smart Filter and Search. The problem with Smart Filter and Search is that
It's very expensive.
well, that's the main problem with it. But the other problem that we found out is that with Shopify, you're constantly using something called collections. New this week, when you go to the New This Week section, the books that are in there, that's a collection. When you go to the Sci-Fi Fantasy collection, that's a collection. When you go to the toy section, that's a collection, and so on. There's a lot of collections. Patrick Builds Your Library is a collection. One of the problems with Smart Filter and Search is that when you make changes to a collection, Smart Filter and Search is constantly updating its database to account for all the items that you have in your system.
When you say make changes, you mean like additions?
Well, that's the thing. If you make any changes to a collection, that's the one thing that doesn't get passed over from Shopify to Smart Filter and Search. You have to manually sync it for Smart Filter and Search to grab the new data to make sure that what it's displaying on your store is the correct items for that collection. So if you add a title, drop a title, change the name, whatever, the items are constantly being updated via Shopify and Smart Filter and Search. But the what's in a collection is a thing you have to tell it, double check that.
So I assume that manually syncing is a regular occurrence, like a weekly or daily, like, oh, don't forget to sync today.
Several times a week, yeah.
Yeah.
Basically, Molly Jane has to do it anytime she updates the New This Week stuff on Thursdays to make sure that when people go to the page, it's now showing the week's new books.
Wait, that's not your job anymore?
No, it's a Thursday task. It was always a Thursday task, and I don't work Thursdays, but Molly Jane does.
Yeah, but you always used to do it from home.
Yeah, because we didn't have anyone working on Thursdays that knew what they were doing.
How long has it not been your thing on Thursdays?
October 2021?
No.
Yeah.
Huh. Okay.
She's got an alarm on her phone that tells her it's time to do this.
I believe that,
Yeah.
but I thought you were still doing it.
No, I don't need to. She's good at her job.
Is her job ordering variant covers?
Doctor Strange variant covers only. How glad are you that she didn't do FOCs for Doctor Strange #1? How many weird variant covers you would have gotten just because it's like Doctor Strange. But anyway,
There are so many questions I have when I see things on an invoice that I'm like, I didn't order this. Now that I don't order Marvel books at all.
but that's the thing. It's really funny to me because the only order you unpack is Diamond,
Yeah.
and the only FOC that Molly Jane does is Diamond. So almost every Tuesday there's some, why did we get this?
Yeah.
Why do we have this for the shelf? And it's all stuff where it's like, Dal backs up slowly out of this conversation.
And literally, like, we want Molly Jane to put her stamp on
yeah.
the store,
Oh, yeah.
but we kind of don't want that as well. We
We
want her to put our approved version of her stamp on the store.
We've talked about this before in regards to what it's like having a third person do FOCs now. And we'll get back to the Shopify thing in a second.
We definitely will, because that's actually not what I was talking about, I don't think, but I need to wait and hear your description.
Sure. With Molly Jane doing the FOCs for Diamond, there was a very early part where it was more of a training phase where it's like, let me go over this with you. Let me look at what changes you're making or not making. And I will tell you what I would or would not have done. And a lot of stuff is gray area where it's like, I see what you're saying and it's fine to do it that way. I'm just telling you what I would have done.
Yeah,
Like,
I'm not telling you have to do this. I'm just telling you
here's-
how I would do it
Here's the
the
logic
right way.
behind how we would have maybe approached that book or that
Also,
cover. or
my
whatever.
line was a joke. Just
I know,
FYI.
I
No,
know.
I know you know. Just making sure other people know.
But yeah, I don't look over her stuff. I mean, occasionally she'll say like, "What do you think about this for that?" And I'll give my input, but I'm not.
And I believe your response is, that shirt?
No, I would never. But the there's definitely an aspect sometimes where it's like, you gotta let people make their own choices, their own mistakes. I don't know.
Yeah.
We've all done it. We've all gotten out on the limb for a book or a cover or whatever, and I found out no one cares about the Mark Chiarello Strange cover like you thought they would.
It's pronounced Strange, but go on.
Getting back to the Shopify thing. So the problem we were having was that it was not importing stuff correctly, or it was kind of locking up in a weird way. So I had to get on Shopify for a little bit, and things were kind of not popping up correctly. But it's all taken care of now.
What I meant was Tuesday evening, when we received books, it wasn't pushing them through to be active.
Yeah, there was a problem with Shopify's APIs. So what...
And that stands for...
I don't remember anymore.
Associated Press Index.
It does, yes. I'm so used to the acronym that I don't remember what it stands for anymore.
Wait, is it... I can't remember the actual acronym to make this joke.
All Tomorrow's Parties.
Is it the AAPI Index?
The Asian American Pacific Islander
Index? Yeah. Oh, wait. Index wasn't part of it. I just made that up, so I keep saying it now like it's part of it.
Yeah. But yeah, there was a screw-up with Shopify that was keeping things from going into people's orders and going into our database, even though we'd received them and pulled them for everyone. So that's why the emails to subscribers didn't go out until very late on Tuesday, because we had to wait until it was done. If you had gotten an email at 5 o'clock on Tuesday like we normally send them out, it would not have included any of the Diamond books that we received on Tuesday, which means nothing from like Image or Dark Horse or Scholastic.
But it fixed itself.
Well,
or it got done.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It was fixed somehow, and eventually everything. But it was, I every hour basically was checking to see if it had been updated yet. And as soon as I saw it was updated, I sent out that email.
There were some people today mentioning on the boards that Comic Suite was down.
Interesting.
And I thought, oh, that's bad.
It's not great. One of the things that's a little bit easier about Comic Suite than something like Shopify is that Comic Suite was mostly a local program. There are parts that you need to plug into Diamond's database to send orders or receive orders or other stuff. But like, you can ring up an order without being online.
Yeah. Shopify,
you cannot. You have to have access to Shopify's system to be able to do anything.
Yes, we found out what happens when they're not online.
Mm-hmm. It's great.
Nothing happens. I was talking with another industry professional today who uses Shopify for their business.
Yeah.
And they reached out because they saw our social media post earlier this week about Dungeons and Dragons on Tuesday. Specifically the display of our Dungeons and Dragons material on the shelf.
Sure.
And said, hey, you know that specific item you have there is we created that, and Ultra Pro's just ripping us off. I want to send you the better version of this book.
Okay.
Along with
I had no idea.
a whole bunch of other stuff.
Great, thanks.
And it was an interesting conversation because it's somebody that we both love and respect and admire and haven't talked with in years, pandemic and everything else.
Sure.
Someone who's behind the scenes business acumen you have bought from. That doesn't make any sense grammatically.
Nope.
But it's definitely someone.
Yep. Got it.
And what they do now is they work with a ton of really talented creators to do things all on their own.
Yeah.
And they're like, we need to have you aware of everybody that we work with, but they don't like do a public facing website.
Sure.
It's all just like, he's like, you can go to the site, but it doesn't tell you anything.
Yeah. It's all just helping people like bring their visions to life, basically.
But they can say, hey, we've got these books from these people, and if you want them, we'll go to them and say, hey, let's set up a deal for this situation.
Okay.
Because I was looking again at Shortbox recently.
Uh-huh.
They got a lot of new good stuff. And Shortbox stuff is stuff we love carrying.
Yes.
But it's it's a hassle.
Yeah.
And the because they're a foreign-based publisher, shipping is not ideal.
Nope.
And we have to charge so much for the stuff.
Yep.
But we, like, everything we've ever bought, I think, save for maybe one.
Yeah, most stuff sells out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like I want to dip our toes in that again, but it's a lot of extra work, and it makes me feel bad that we're charging what we have to charge.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but I mean, again, it's not like the market hasn't said, like, we will support that.
But I feel like this other scenario is a good national version of that.
Cool.
I just need to...
Domestic, maybe even.
Oh, yeah, okay. That's a better word, as opposed to international. And if I could remember any of the people whose stuff they stock, aside from Marie Enger, I would say.
I guess people will find out when they eventually come to Challengers and see
Yeah.
the order that we got in.
Yeah. But it's also harder for us to have specific dedicated sections for fun stuff like that.
Yeah,
Even something
running
like
out of space.
Even something like Caroline Cash's Pee Pee Poo Poo
Uh-huh.
has to go in the local section because there's nowhere for it.
I had to take a bunch of graphic novels out of different sections and add them to the local section because it's like, oh, yes, this is a local enough artist, and also we don't have room in these other sections for them.
Yeah. Yeah, that's honestly that's a huge deal, is that we can't stock everything because there's so much more of it every week. And this is the thing that David Harper was talking about today, that he's he's transitioning into a trade person because that excites him more than the single issues.
Okay.
But the way he was talking to Steve Anderson from Third Eye, and Steve's like, no, man, you're just getting burned out on less than stellar material. The reason you're not excited for your monthly comics is because they're not, the ones you're getting, they're not great.
Yeah, you don't feel like you're getting your money's worth, essentially.
And if you have to talk yourself into buying it like you do, that's just a product, that's a symptom that you are not enjoying the books. You're buying it for the wrong reasons.
That's a way of looking at it.
But that is a major facet in comics today. And we talk about this to death, about how
I don't know that it's... I would maybe argue against that diagnosis as being the only one.
No, I mean, I didn't say it was the only one.
Sure, but I mean, if Steve from Third Eye is looking at that and saying, no, here's what's really going on, it's like, well...
What he meant was, here's what's going on with you.
Yeah, but even then, I mean, I think...
Here's the thing that I've always said. There's a lot of good comics out right now.
Sure.
But unfortunately, you can really only afford the great comics.
That's true. I mean, I think it's totally fair to consider that a lot of people who are switching to trades are doing it out of a sense of space rather than out of, a lack of interest in monthly comics. Space is a real consideration when your collection gets large enough. And, when you're looking at high-end absolute editions or, super exhaustive omnibuses, that's maybe where some people's interest lay as far as the things they own rather than just the things they read.
But one of the things that we want to get people more excited about is the weekly single issue comics.
Yeah. I read some previews I really liked.
Well, that's where we're transitioning into that. I got to stop saying transitioning.
Yes.
We're moving into that topic because I also had a bunch of previews. But the first thing I want to talk about is a couple of books that have the potential to be long runs.
Okay.
And when I say long, I mean more than 12. Like a thing that you would like. It's easy to look at a book that is 3 issues, 5 issues, and just think, oh, I can get that when it comes out in a collection. But you're not just going to say, oh, I'm going to get this ongoing series only in trade.
Right.
And there's a couple of creators who are really sinking their teeth into longer runs, and I think that those are really great ways to get people excited about the weekly releases of comics again. Kind of what we were talking about with John Allison last week.
Okay, sure.
Not with John Allison.
About.
Yes. And one of them is, it's James Tynion, who currently has several books that are just going. Something's Killing the Children. House of Slaughter.
Department of Truth.
Department of Truth. Yeah. Those are longer, ongoing runs.
Sure.
And he's got the short runs as well.
Blue Book.
And, I guess Sandman Dream Country is...
It's like 12 issues.
Nightmare
but
Country
It's
is-
across 2 6-issue
Yeah.
series.
So his next big book, like Closet was a 3-part.
Right.
That was it.
Yep.
There'll be more, I guess, but his next big, regular, ongoing, we're doing this for years book is World Tree.
Mm-hmm.
World Tree is a tough book to look up because the O is a 0 and the E's are 3s.
Yep.
So it's pronounced World Tree, but it's spelt W0RLDTR33.
Yep.
It's very hard to find in Managed Comics. If you
The
unless you-
0 in World, especially, is the thing that trips so many people up when they're searching for it.
Yeah, they get the E's, the 3s.
Yep.
I read World Tree #1, and it's a very good book, but it is a book for adults. It is very violent. It is one of the most violent comics I've read.
Have you read Lovesick?
I have read Lovesick.
More violent than Lovesick?
It's a different kind of violence.
Oh, man. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
I read Lovesick, and Lovesick is the most violent thing I've ever read in my life.
Interesting. World Tree is building off of what he did before with Memetic,
Okay.
and
I liked Memetic, and what was it?
there's 2 more.
Oh, God.
I can't do it. I can't. That's why I paused after Memetic.
Memetic, I want to say, like, was it you?
Cognitive?
Cognetic was one.
Okay.
I want to say Eugenic was the other one, but I
Yeah.
don't think it was it.
I think so.
Oh,
Or
it
is
doesn't
that
sound to me.
like Dianetics and eugenics?
I don't remember what the third one was called,
It-
but
the,
it was a good horror trilogy that he did.
the main villain is a character called Fear. That's PH3AR. She's also...
Not 3-4R.
I don't think so. Maybe.
Usually in that leet speak, the 4 is an A.
Isn't it? Yeah. Okay. Maybe it isn't. I don't remember. She's also...
Also, we forgot Wind from James Tynion as another one of his ongoing series of series.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, sorry.
Fear is always naked. Or not always, but as often as possible, completely, fully naked.
So, like, Carmen will have to keep that wrapped when we put it on the table.
But Carmen comes wrapped.
It does.
World Tree single issues will not come wrapped, as Carmen single issues did not come wrapped.
That's true. I just meant the book when it's on the front table.
Sure, no, I gotcha. Also, I don't know that Fear is a real human being and not a creation of the internet.
No.
It's a very sophisticated story. It's a fun story. There's characters that you read and you're like, oh yeah, James Tynion created this character.
Sure.
And it's a good book, but I mean, you got to be in the mood for it, and you got to be.
I haven't been in the mood for it yet. It's on my iPad. It's in my folder. I'm gonna read it.
I just a very brief
Not yet.
pitch to a club member today, and they're like, "Yes, sign me up. I got to have it."
Yeah,
So-
I definitely think it's going to appeal to the people who get Department of Truth or something that's calling children. I'd be shocked if they weren't interested.
Well, here's one of the things, because we've already done the FOCs for issue 1.
Okay.
So we're going to have a ton on the shelf. If you are a subscriber and you want this book and you go to subscribe to it and you do find it using the O's and the 3s, the zeros is what I meant when I said O's, not Kamen Rider O's.
I knew it was coming. Thank you.
You're welcome. I didn't want to let you down, buddy.
Thank you.
You'll start with number 2.
Right. Because we've already the orders have closed for issue 1 through Managed Comics.
But we'll have plenty of ones on the
However-
shelf. We'll have plenty of ones on the shelf.
Plenty of ones on the shelf.
Don't worry about that. Plenty of ones on the shelf. And a few other long-form books that are coming up. We talked about this before. The Tom Taylor, Nicola Scott Titans book.
Yep.
That's an ongoing DC superhero book that looks excellent.
Yeah.
Tom King is going to be writing Wonder Woman.
Yes.
That is starting with a new number
Starting
1.
in July, I think.
July or September? Isn't that what you were saying?
No, that's Penguin.
Oh, sorry.
August is Penguin now because they have a brand new artist.
Tom King is writing Wonder Woman. He doesn't. When he does an ongoing book, he doesn't do it for a short period of time.
It's true.
Look at his Batman run. How many years was that?
It
was 85 issues.
85 issues,
Yeah.
plus some tie-in stuff.
Right. So these are top tier creators who are doing top tier books that will be coming out monthly. Granted, World Tree there'll be like 5, not
Couple
quite
month
like
break.
like the old Saga schedule. 5 collection, month off, couple more. I mean, the next arc.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
So like 8 to 10 issues a year, kind of, is
Yeah.
what they're expecting.
So that really gives me hope for the resurgence, if you will, if you'll allow that, of the single issue book.
I'll allow it.
Yeah.
It's definitely welcome. I like miniseries, and I like a lot of first issues from miniseries I've read recently. But yeah, I mean, I dig being able to read something that's going to come out with a new issue every month and just kind of be more open-ended about where the story gets to go. It's nice to have both of those things, to have these, discrete 5, 6, 7 issue series that tell a story and get out. And then the stuff where it's like, who's Moon Knight fighting this month?
Yeah.
What's Superman up to in Metropolis? Like, I like that stuff. I think that's a fun other form of comic storytelling that I don't want to lose.
I do want to jump in and mention DC's running all these house ads for the Dawn of DC, their new initiative.
Yes.
And it's a full-page ad. It'll be like Flash, Cy Spurrier, Mike Diodato Jr., and a big image of the Flash on the page, not drawn by Mike Diodato Jr. Or Superman. And they all have a tagline.
Mm-hmm.
Like for Nightwing, it'll be Titan. That's his tagline.
Okay.
Because there's Titans,
Okay.
But and that's what, Tom Taylor, Bruno Redondo. That's one where it's Bruno Redondo art.
Sure.
The Superman one is Superman, Joshua Williamson, Jamal Campbell, and a really off-putting Nick Dragotta piece in the background.
Okay. Like one of the variants from issue 1?
I don't even...
He did a variant for issue 1.
Did Superman have a really elongated head and a projection of Lex Luthor around him?
You said Nick Dragotta drew it, so...
Yeah. It's just, why are you emphasizing who these creative teams are and not showing those? And Wonder Woman, it has the right credits, but the wrong logo.
Weird.
I get it.
I don't like the new Wonder Woman logo. I think it's upside down. The Bruno Redondo thing is really funny, though, for Nightwing, because showing a Bruno Redondo piece of artwork is one of those things of he's not really much of the artist these days. He's been off that book. I'm not saying he's off the book, but it's been Travis Moore for a minute.
For one issue.
A few issues. He's been drawing the last couple. And he didn't, and Bruno Redondo didn't draw a lot of 100 either.
But he did draw 100. He did draw some of it.
He drew some of it. So did Scott McDaniel. So did Javier Ferrer.
People can't do monthly books anymore. That's fine.
They really can't. Did you hear the Unstoppable Doom Patrol is now a 7-issue series, and issue 4 is David LaFuente?
No.
Yes.
How many issues was it supposed to be?
6. And that's the thing. Basically, they added a 7th issue drawn by David LaFuente, but it's going to be issue 4. 1 through 3 and 5 through 7 will still be by Chris Burnham.
Okay.
But it's a thing of you can't get any artists to do 6 issues in a row anymore.
Burnham is a very detailed artist.
He is, but he had a lot of lead time, and it's... But beyond,
he was doing Creepshow, and we don't know how long of lead time he had.
And I don't mean to call him out specifically. That's not my point. My point is that any book you publish now, you can't get an artist to do 6 issues in a row. It just doesn't happen. Yeah. Everybody needs time off, and no one... I guess maybe it's just the amount of... The level at which these superhero books need to come out at, an issue every month is just impossible. So, you can do a 3 or 4 issue storyline, and then someone's going to have to come in and do the next 3 or 4 issues so you can catch up. Or you can do 5 issues, and then, another artist is going to have to do half of some of those issues for a subplot.
Yeah.
It is a thing that I sort of dislike.
I'm going to go through a couple of quick titles of previews that I've read. Mm-hmm. If you've read, jump in, and then you can do yours when I'm done.
Okie dokie.
Starting with The Great British Bump Off.
It's great.
Super fun. If you do not have to know anything about
Bad
any
Machinery.
of this.
Yeah.
Bad Machinery or Great British Bake Off.
Right. I don't know. I've never watched an episode of The Great British Bake Off. But through cultural osmosis, I know some of it. So I get some of the references. I get the Paul Hollywood reference, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. I get that reference.
If you are a Bake Off fan, you will love this book because it puts you in the tent. You understand it. They understand it. They understand the contestant breakdown. And one of the things that they do, which I think is amazing, because it's the start of a season in this comic, and there's always 12 or 13 new bakers in the tent. What they do is everybody's apron has their initial on it to help remind you of their names.
Yeah, it handles a very large cast very well because you are following one main character who's sort of investigating this, and the couple characters that she knows best within that tent, and then the various suspects and victims and whatever else. But yeah, instantly I'm like, I get the character relationships, I get the rivalries, I get all that stuff. John Allison, very smart about the way he constructs a story and very clever about a lot of his wordplay. I love Max Saren's art so much.
Yeah.
Absolutely one of my favorite artists
It's
working
so
in comics
fluid.
right now. Just so much character in every drawing. The body language and the facial expressions.
And everybody looks different.
Yeah, and the page layouts and everything. It's so good and so clever and so gorgeous to look at. Just to look at the art and be like, God, this looks so good. I loved it.
There's a new Vault horror book coming out called The Nasty, and it's set in 1980s in Scotland, and it's about a horror-themed video store that is having trouble surviving because there's, a huge video store chain down the block, and they...
Down the Blockbuster.
Exactly. They have a plan to save it, but it's also about the main character who has had an imaginary friend his whole life who is... This character grew up watching horror films. And the villain of one of the horror films has been his imaginary friend. Something happens to make this imaginary friend less imaginary, but also while these people are trying to film their own horror movie for very specific reasons. It's by John Lees, the guy who wrote Crimson Cage.
Cool.
And it's very, very good, and it was the kind of thing that also we missed out on. We ordered it, but we didn't order it massively.
Right.
And it's definitely a thing that people will overlook easily.
We could probably try and order a few more copies if we really want.
And we'll need to hand sell it for sure.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of fun, and I don't want that to escape anybody's notice.
Sure.
But also, we talk about absolute WrestleBoy Kyle Starks a lot on this podcast.
Yes.
A, he's a friend of ours. B, we very much enjoy hanging out with him when he's around. But C, which should be A, it's because he's so damn good.
He's a very good comic book writer.
He's
And
writing
artist.
Peacemaker Tries Hard.
I read that.
Peacemaker Tries Hard from DC Comics is awesome.
It's hysterical.
It's so good. It feels like...
There's so many dumb things from that issue
Oh,
I want to
man.
mention right now, but it's like only you and I would get that, Patrick.
Yeah.
No one else has read it yet.
It
no one else
is...
is going to understand Muscle
It
Cake.
is... It's a thing. Muscle Cake is a thing. It's great.
It's
you need to
really
get
funny.
it. If
It's
you
so
watch
funny.
the Peacemaker TV show, you will feel like this is an episode. It feels like you're reading a comic. I'm going to paraphrase Mitchell Davies from All Star Comics in Melbourne, Australia. You're reading a comic that James Gunn wrote and John Cena is acting.
Okay.
It's so good.
Yeah, I really loved it.
And the art is spectacular.
Steve Pugh's real good. I've always liked him. I liked him from Animal Man a lot. And he's great on this. He's got just... It's grounded enough where it's not just like wacky cartoon stuff. But at the same time, like, he's clearly having a good time with these insane characters and fights. And it's got that Ryan Brown thing of, like, when he punches a dude into a ceiling, it has a dumb sound effect.
Yeah.
Like... It's great. It's really, really good. And just all those little Kyle Starks, like, throwaway lines of dialogue and just weird character choices. There's a great bit where Peacemaker has to break into, like, a sewage treatment facility. And, like, and I'm going to ruin this joke. I'm sorry, but I'm going to ruin it. As he's sneaking in, he kills a guard. And then he finds out that, like, oh, these are just, like, city employees. These aren't, like, supervillains. He's like, oh, God, I killed a guy. And the guy's like, well, one of those guys was a sex offender. So he's
a really bad one.
He's a terrible guy. It's like, oh, okay. I think that's what his name badge said. Yeah, it's just good gags like that. It's just really funny. I had a really good time with it. And it still manages to be sweet about the way that it wants to talk about Peacemaker as a kind of terrible person, but also a really lonely person.
Yeah.
And how that's maybe affecting a lot of his choices in the story. But I liked it a whole lot. Peacemaker Tries Hard was fantastic.
Who would have thought I would have read 2 comics this week that both feature Peacemaker, Monsieur Malat, and the Brain?
Yeah, right?
That was my way of letting you segue into.
Did
Doom
you read
Patrol.
Unstoppable Doom Patrol?
I did.
Did you like it?
I did, but you loved it.
I really did love it. The thing that was really impressive to me about it is that it works very hard to find a place for the Doom Patrol in the current DC universe. We've had a lot of stuff that's more...
Yeah, this is not a Vertigo version.
I was going to say that we've had a lot of work on Doom Patrol that's more indebted to the Vertigo version of the book, where it's outside of the DC universe and more of its own little cosmology. But this is trying to put it in a place where it's like, no, how do these characters work in the same universe that has Batman and Robin in it?
But also, if you've watched the Doom Patrol series, you still get it. You know who they are. You know the personalities and fundamentally their mission.
This isn't like a total reboot. This is kind of just an evolution of the characters to do something that is kind of like the way that Constantine's been popping up in a lot of DC stuff recently, where, yes, it's that character from, like, Hellblazer, but it's also a version of him that can work within this universe with these characters. So it's a new mission for the Doom Patrol that gives them a reason to show up in big events and interact with characters like Batman and Robin and eventually like the Justice League or whatever. And the first issue is a really great done-in-one introduction to these characters, their mission, and the art's great by Burnham. The new villain they fight is very clever because it has to always be a little weird for the Doom Patrol. It can't just be like they fight Deathstroke. Like, that wouldn't make any sense. There has to be a villain where it's like a monster, but maybe a monster that has a point of view or something that can be salvaged in it. Or because the Doom Patrol is about these characters who are seen by the world as being freaks, but it's like, but they do have value and they do have community, and so they look at other monsters as like, maybe you're not a bad guy.
Yeah.
Maybe we can help you. Maybe you're just misunderstood. We've got to give you a chance. So there's a lot of empathy at play in the Unstoppable Doom Patrol that I really liked. Definitely check out the first issue. Again, it's a 7-issue series now, despite the 1 of 6 that it probably says on the front cover.
And that is out next week.
Next week.
This week as you're listening to this.
Yeah, it's coming out Wednesday the 29th.
9th.
Very excited for people to get their hands on that. Luckily, that was a book that we already upped our numbers on because we like Burnham a lot, and it's exciting to see him draw superhero stuff again after a while of not doing that.
Let's not forget, Chris Burnham was our very first professional signing.
It was, it's true.
Not quite 15 years ago.
But Burnham's great on it. Dennis Culver's the writer. He did a great job with it. The thing when I'd written a letter to Dennis Culver to say, hey, this was really good, and I hope you're, excited about your book coming out, and I loved reading it. The interesting thing for me is the touchstone. A lot of people would go to Morrison's Doom Patrol as a thing to sort of play off of or reference. But the thing I like best about Unstoppable Doom Patrol is that the touchstone is really more Morrison's X-Men than it is his Doom Patrol. It's like a rescue team version of Doom Patrol.
Because Doom Patrol all get their secondary mutations.
They all get jackets, just like Cliff Steele. They all get Cliff Steele style jackets.
Okay.
That have a big D that forms when he zips it up. They don't, actually. It's not true.
They do have jackets, though.
They do have jackets.
And they do have Ds on them.
They do. It's cold out there. They have like costumes and stuff, though.
They've got X's that go... Oh, wait, no, that was something else.
They do. Anyway, yeah, Unstoppable Doom Patrol. I really loved it, and I hope people get a chance to read it and enjoy it.
You had said you read other things. Was it stuff that I
did.
covered?
No, I read Green Arrow #1.
Oh, I didn't know that was up.
Yeah.
Nice. I'm looking forward to that.
It's interesting. I'm not a big Green Arrow guy. I've tried Green Arrow a lot of times. I think the Lemire Sorrentino one was the one I stuck with the longest, and even that I didn't really stick with all the way through.
I think it's that logo that they're
don't
using.
Like Ollie, I guess, as a character. I don't find him very interesting. The interesting thing to me, though, about this one is that it's more of an emphasis on the kind of Green Arrow family.
Yeah.
That's a big part of it.
Do we have Connor Hawke? Do we have Shadow? Do we have Black Canary?
We got a bunch of characters.
What about the new Red Canary that was created?
We don't. We have a new character called Cheshire Cat who shows up.
Is she related to Cheshire? Because
I'll let people read the book and find out, Patrick.
Because that's
I'll let people read the book and find out, Patrick.
That's definitely a Roy thing.
People can read the book and find out, Patrick. I like the first issue.
Oh God, is it? I'm just guessing. I don't know. I'm just trying to figure things out in my head. Let me work through it. Is it? Wait, who was Connor Hawke's mom?
I don't remember her name.
Not Shadow.
No, it's Shadow.
Was it Shadow?
I thought it was.
Okay. Is it Shadow?
People can read the book and find out. Stop guessing things about this book.
That's fine.
Let me just say that I read the first issue. I thought it was a good jumping on point. I don't know that it's going to be my book necessarily, but I think it's a very strong approach at Green Arrow and an interesting mystery for them to kind of solve.
Cool.
Yeah. I think that was everything. I'm only like 60 pages into the Ryan North,
Danger and other
Erica Henderson
unknown
YA graphic novel.
Yeah.
And I like what I've read so far. I think it's really clever.
Nice.
It is essentially it's a world where at the year 2000,
Y2K ruined all the electronics.
Y2K happened, but what Y2K was a world where magic exists. And magic destroyed technology. And we come to the story generations later.
Yeah.
It's an interesting look at magic in the same way that like Coda looked at it and Curse Words looked at it, and 8 Billion Genies looks at it, where there's all these ramifications, and the longer you telescope out the story, the worse a lot of those things get. And that's a fun place to tell a story.
I read it, so I'm curious to see how it goes for you, because you're not even halfway done.
No, God, I'm like 4 chapters in, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a long one.
Yeah, it's a full graphic
And
novel.
one of 2 Erica Henderson graphic novels this year.
Yes.
Gina picked up the Squirrel Girl Omnibus today. And
yeah.
she's like, even though I have
so
all the
heavy.
singles,
It's
I want the omnibus.
It's maybe the heaviest book I own.
And then she mentioned that she had one of the issues signed by Erica Henderson.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
I think that was everything I read. At
Okay.
least everything I kind of remember. I don't think there's anything else.
What I really need to do, what we both need to do, is write down what we read so we know what we've read so we can talk about
Most
it.
of what I read that was a preview was within the last 48 hours.
Yeah.
So it was really just thinking back that far. More and more stuff, I think I've complained about this before, we're not getting full previews from a lot of publishers anymore. Boom doesn't give us really anything
Yeah,
anymore.
there was an announcement we got today. Boom gives us...
I don't see them in the 2 emails that I get from Boom.
Did you get emails today?
Yeah.
There every Friday we get... Like, you got to log in and... Like, to their FTP site or whatever it was.
I mean, previously it was just a link. You just click a link and
Yeah.
it's like, here's drop or whatever.
No, they every Friday there's a preview email, but I have not clicked one of those in a while.
Okay.
But I mean, I like yourself, I read The Neighbors #1 by clicking the preview. I do the previews, but we got an image. Was it a horror book? Wow, there was a
Terror War.
No, not that one.
No?
That's the Salad Ahmed.
Yep.
This is one. The logo's got the word "end" in it, and it was today. The press release came out today.
Yeah.
But it was the announcement of a book, and it was by a writer who I can't remember, who I hadn't read the previous book they did, but it was a press release, so there's no PDF.
Right.
I'm like, I didn't know this book existed. Give me a PDF.
Yeah, well, Image sent out the new catalog email with, like, here's all the new stuff that's the new #1s, and that was one of the books. And it usually just to do a thing of, like, hey, you can do exclusive covers, and here's, like, the talking points. Everything was just excerpts. There was no...
Did you want to do the dust jacket thing for 8 Billion Genies?
Maybe. The problem is it's got to be reused covers, and there's no one cover I'm looking at where I'm like, oh, that's the one.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
And is it just one use, or can, like, 8 stores have the same cover?
I thought it was one use.
Okay.
Like, it's an exclusive cover.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for our eventual event, I think it's worth doing, but it's not cheap. And
It's not horribly expensive.
sure, but you get 50 of them.
Yeah. Yeah. So is it worth charging an extra $6 for it?
I mean, essentially, that's what we would need to
Yeah.
do. $5 or $6, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, some price, yeah.
Yeah.
It's but then we would need to pick one of the covers, and
Sure.
I don't know what's left. And
Okay.
I
I meant to ask you
they're
when
all,
I first saw it.
They're all
but-
good covers, but the problem is, like, I always want it to feel like reflective of the store, and it's
Right.
like none of them are that. They're
Right.
it's just a cover, and it's exclusive to you.
Yeah. Oh, hey. Obviously, this is a thing I'm not going to elaborate on, but we already have next year's I Love You But I've Chosen Comics t-shirt artists lined up.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's some early work.
And we also have this podcast finished. Next week's podcast is going to be weird. I don't know what it's going to be yet because
There's a lot going on.
there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on. And we want to make it special for our 15th anniversary, but we probably won't.
Probably
So-
not.
so
Sorry.
good. So anyway,
Party's coming up, though.
yeah, that's how we started the podcast. That's how we're going to end it. We'll see you at the party at Challengers at 7:00. One other Comics Professional has confirmed that they will be there. When they saw our social media post about all the John Wick merchandise we got in today to give out for the movie, and immediately had to run in to pick everything up for the second time this week. No stories, though. But yeah, anyway, we'll find out about next week's podcast together. Thanks for listening.
Keep reading comics.
This has been Contest of Challengers. Thanks for listening. Keep reading comics. Challengers is located at 1845 Northwestern Avenue in the Bucktown neighborhood of Chicago. 773-278-0155. Keep up to date with new releases and events at challengerscomics.com. And help fund this podcast at patreon.com/challengers.